Hey Facebook, starting to do some live videos for my campaign. I want to talk a little bit about the reasons why I believe what I believe. I've been hearing a lot of stories being told right now from people in Tulsa about experiences they've had with police, experiences they had being black. Those are all very real. I think that more people heard them, they would have more perspective of what we're talking about when we want an office of the independent monitor here in Tulsa. We have a lot of officers who just upped their budget by $1 million today that went in. They are well-trained, well-funded, as they should be. I'm not gonna say we need to defund the police, but we need to have police functioning in a way that's supportive of everybody and handle situations the best they can. So I want to tell you a story. I was working at Youth Services of Tulsa several years ago as a shelter coordinator, and we have kids come in there all the time for fights with their parents, issues with mental health. Maybe it's like a foster family not working out for whatever reason, and they are at the shelter, and it's very much like now. It feels like quarantine when you're there. You only go on outings maybe 2 or 3 times a week. You're having to be around the same people all the time, and so they leave sometimes. And we had 2 girls ended up heading out. They just needed to stretch their legs. They were done with being around us, and they left. And we have to call the police when that happens. The liability is on us if something happens when they leave, and the only way to for the state to acknowledge our liability is stopped is if they leave. And we don't run after people or trying to get them to keep them. I mean, I'd even give sandwiches, blankets, whatever if someone was leaving. But we did call. They ended up just going down the street to a gas station. The police found them pretty quick, but when they came back, one of them was in handcuffs, had ridden in the back of a police car, and there was 2 cars. The other one had come, and the little girl was riding in the front of it. One was white, one was black. One had tears in her eyes. The other one looked like she was had no trouble at all. Everything was going great. I don't even have to tell you who was who. The police's story, because immediately we're questioning why she was in handcuffs, what happened, is that she was being combative, or she was, looked like she was going to be trouble. And she was bigger, sure, but it wasn't her idea to leave. And when we interviewed them afterwards, their stories were different. They had talked about how it was the little white girl who wanted to leave, and how she was the one who had organized it all. And when the police came up, they immediately just started treating our girl, who happened to be a person of color, hostilely. They started questioning her, acting like she was the one who is orchestrated this and toted this girl behind her. And so we went to the higher ups at YST, and we were like, we need to do something about this. I know we have police folks on our board. Can we reach out to them and try and resolve this? Because it's not okay how they handled it. They talked about it as the assistant to the executive director at the time. She no longer works there, and they said, no, we can't do anything about it. We're not going to talk to our board. We're not going to have them pull strings. And this is someone who's traumatized now, being with their interaction with the police, and we had to call them. We avoid that at all costs, but we had to call them. And so I went ahead and called the sergeant on because that's the reporting method. When you call and you want to report an issue you're having with an arresting officer, you talk to the sergeant, staff sergeant, and then they will investigate. There's no accountability. I never got a call back. I never got any response. I tried to follow up, and they had said they passed it on to the supervising person of that officer. There's no justice. I think we have a system that needs an office of independent monitor. We need people to take those complaints. We need a system of accountability. And I don't think the sergeants would mind. I mean, I really don't. Who wants to investigate your own people, and then find punishment or fault, and be looked upon as this like bad guy all the time. You want someone outside of the police force to do that, to review body cams, to see how things went, what went down. Then they can report that with a valid concern behind it, with proof, to staff sergeants. Staff sergeants can then make the call, like, and they need to respond. They need to have a written response of what happened, what they did, how it changed. And that's what we're asking for. I mean, really, you don't even need police officers, though, if I'm going to be completely honest, to be showing up for a runaway case. Those aren't going to be helpful. They don't want to necessarily interact with some kids. They feel like, I mean, you hear from the officers, I did, they feel like taxi services, just carting kids around. No one wants that job. So, why? Let's give it to somebody else. I guess that's what I'm kind of saying. I think there's many levels to this. We need people to be responding to those calls who are qualified, who can do something for runaways, who can show up, and de-escalate a situation, not escalate it, who can provide resources, who can really be empathetic and respond in a way that everyone's going to come out better for it. It's just inherent in someone who carries a gun, it's gonna be traumatizing for some people, and we need to minimize that as much as possible, especially when it's just some kids needing to stretch their legs. So I want to do a lot more of these, and I'm doing them for you all, so that we can talk about these real stories, and I have many more. Thank you.